Welcome everyone, and this is a special webinar by RP and USMLE Sarthi team. We will talk about pre-match programs for those of you who are interested and maybe interviewing with pre-match programs. But after that, we'll open it up for any broader questions that you may have about match, research, other aspects of USMLE. We'll have panelists from RP as well as, USMLE Sarthi team is also there. So they'll let you know of any questions and if you're looking for any links and all that. With that, let me hand it over to Ammu. And Ammu, if you want to start off with your introductions and then we'll take over.
Thank you, Pawan. Hi, everyone. My name is Sushma. I am a third-year IM resident and also the president of Medical Student Residence and Fellow section of American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, or API. We are a platform which accommodates all medical student residents or graduates of Indian origin in US. And also we do have an outreach in India and other places. We have a very robust board, a board who actually manages all our events, and we do have a very active year where we're having a lot of events coming up, including our virtual research symposium. We have a winter medical conference that's coming up. We are partnering with Sarthi on the series on residencies now because it's the residency application season. We'll be coming up with webinars that will be helpful to our community for the same. So today's topic is a very interesting topic of all we need to know about pre-match. Before I start further the discussion, let me introduce quickly about API. Is it okay if I share my screen, Pawan?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to take you to just our regarding RP and our activities and what we are offering to the community. So we are a team of residents, fellows, medical students, as well as medical graduates. We do have a lot of events. We just finished our burnout series, which was well attended, and we do have the theme for this year is wellness. So we do have resources for wellness for our community in our website. We are also doing some research study regarding the same. We started off our partnership with Sarthi with our match strategy and timeline in July, just before the application time. And this is our second panel, and we are planning to have more panels, including possibly program directors and other helpful events. We also have the medical students of Albany Medical School have started a South Asian cardiovascular health project where we monthly discuss regarding cardiovascular outcomes. We have our coming up research symposium. We have the international one for people not in United States. This will be virtual and we are accepting abstracts. It will be done on December 11th. The QR code will take you to the form where you can submit the abstracts, and we are accepting abstracts for now. And we're also accepting for in-person medical conference for everybody who is in United States in Las Vegas in the President's Day weekend of February 17th to 19th at the Four Seasons Hotel. And we have a research symposium there, which is an in-person one. And this is the QR code for the submission of that. We work very well with our young physicians and the parent RP section, who are all like practicing doctors in the United States. And we have very good mentorship from them in our community. We also have our own journal called JAPI, where we publishes academic journals, and also all the abstracts that's been accepted to our conferences will be published here. Having said that, and we are very robustly active in online. Please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Having said that, I'm coming back to stopping to share my screen. And coming back to the topic today, we do have panelists. I have with me Niketna Vivek, who's our community outreach chair. And we also have Jayesh, who is our membership committee chair, who will be joining us shortly. Pawan, can we start with the first question for
well, before we do that, let's also introduce Sarthi for those of us who may not be aware. So let me take a couple of minutes.
Sure.
And I want to, let me share my screen as well, and then we'll go. So for those of you who are new to Sarthi, We are a career office for foreign-born physicians. And by that, I mean, we help in the USMLE advisory, we help in rotations, not so much on step 1 and CK prep, although we are trying to build that. Research, we have a very robust team, and of course, residency application and interview prep. So as you can see, personal statement, applications, rotations, interview preparation, research. We actually started 2015, and by now we've helped more than 7,500 students from over 32 countries. We have a very high match rate of about 88%. And as you can imagine, the student profile varies quite a bit in terms of USC, in terms of scores, in terms of the specialties, everything we cater to. And of course, how we do it is we are an online platform. We have a very close-knit community. We offer mentorship, we offer one-on-one, we have various classes. You may have seen us on YouTube or Facebook. Of course, we run that group, and as well as Telegram. And my team is going to send you the links in chat so that you can subscribe. So more than 50 hours of classes covering all aspects of the match. Right now, of course, we are in the interview preparation season. So we have about 25 plus 30 hours of interview preparation material, mock interviews. We also work with program directors if you need mocks from them. Research, like I said, we do research collaboratively with Hackensack Palisades faculty, director of clinical research. He leads our research program. We have helped over 750 students in terms of their publications, whether it's manuscripts, abstracts, case reports. And we also help you in electives, observership, externships. The difference is here we connect you directly with the locations or the physicians or clinics or hospitals, and you pay them directly, so your costs come down. We did over 2,000 rotations already in this year. Those of you who need our contact information, Swati from our team is going to post it here, but Instagram, email, YouTube, Match Group, and so on. So that was just a very quick intro to our team. And of course, in the chat, we'll put this information. And now I think, we can start. So let's dive into the topic. So do you want me to ask you the first question in terms of, okay, so all of us have by now should have heard of pre-match, at least people who are going into the match. So the first question, Ammu, maybe you can explain what are these pre-match programs?
So the pre-match is a system where the program does not participate in ERAS. They have their own system of taking the candidates, interviewing them, and selecting them for their residency program. There could be not participating in ERAS for a number of reasons. But the easy thing is we don't have to wait till the match to get a results. Having said that, so it's very important to know while this is a peak application season where everyone is waiting for interviews, already interviewing, or waiting to hear back. I thought this is a very important topic to know, and what is their timeline, how to apply for them. So, Pavan, do you have anything to add to that? I can't hear, it's muted.
Sorry. So the only technical thing all of you should know about pre-match programs, if you the main match goes through NRMP, as you probably all know by now. Pre-match programs will not have an NRMP ID for obvious reasons, because they're not going into the match. So that's something that you should be aware of. And it also then the next question is, which programs offer pre-match? So most of you would have already applied, but you may not know which are these programs. So we actually have a list of these, and my team is going to post it now. So by specialty, we are going to give you the links here, and you can see if you have applied to these programs. So we gathered a list of all IMG specialties: internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, psych, neuro, and pathology. And you can see, I think Swati is posting those links. So if you go to those links, you will see the pre-match programs. Okay, let's go on to the next question. So Amu, maybe you can take this. What is the process of applying to these programs? I guess you are on mute.
Sorry, I think we are taking turns in that. So there is no like centralized system for these programs. To basically, NRMP is a centralized system where everyone has a timeline to go through. With regard to pre-match programs, they have their own internal timeline and they work according to that. So the way to applying for, so they don't coincide with match. Usually they try to take applicants way before the match happens, because they do want to make sure they have a full residency board the next year. Having said that, so there are new programs that get accredited after the the ERAs open, who are usually sometimes don't have been in ERAs, so they can come in as out of the pre-match programs as well. I think that would be my take on this, Pawan.
Yes. So just to summarize what she said, most of the pre-match programs will accept applications through ERAs. That's the one-stop shop for most programs. However, many of them, if they get accredited after or during the match season or have other issues, very few programs will accept application outside ERAs, and then it becomes tricky because you have to individually somehow send them the application, send them the LORs. So for all practical purposes, the applications are accepted through ERAs. But I think the important thing, what she's saying, is the timeline of these programs. All of these programs which are pre-match programs have to fill their spots before the rank order list deadline. So the rank order list deadline, the NRMP deadline, I think this year is also early March. So I don't know the exact date. But before that, they need to close their process. The other thing you need to understand is, once they make you an offer, once you accept the offer, you cannot go into the NRMP system. You cannot go into the NRMP match. And that's why it is important for the programs. It's important for you to close this process before the rank order list deadline. So that's a detail that you should all be aware of.
I can take the next I can ask the next question, and I think Swati has just posted the timeline for the match this season. So if anybody has any questions, you can look at that link. So which programs offer pre-match? How do we find out which programs to offer them?
So, actually, like I said, we do have a list, and it's on our website, and Swati has posted that. So if you buy specialty, so if you go through these links, you will see all the programs which in this year are pre-match. Now, this could change year over year. Some programs move into pre-match 1 year and then go into NRMP next year. But for the current season, if you're looking for that list, we are posting it in the chat.
Thank you, Pawan. I think that's very helpful. It is difficult, especially for someone who is applying for first time, to navigate this process. So I really commend Sarthi for having that list and making it available for us. I can take the questions from the audience after we just go through a preliminary discussion about pre-match. So whoever has any questions, please post it in the chat box, and I will be asking them one by one. So our next question is, what is the process of applying to them?
I think you already covered that. Yeah, we already covered that.
So you mentioned that there are separate programs for each specialty, right?
Right.
For each, is there any difference in applying to any of these specialties?
No, most of them, like I mentioned, go through ERAs. It's the same standard process. The difference comes only if the program is not accepting applications through ERAS, and then it becomes a very painful, arduous process. Very few programs, but there may be some.
Okay. So the next process is how to prepare for the interviews for a pre-match. For example, you got the list, you applied to these programs, and you got an interview. Now, how do you prepare for them?
Okay, so as we think through how to prepare for these interviews and probably how these interviews are different or similar to the other programs, we first need to understand what are these programs looking for? Why are they in pre-match? Because once you understand that, then it becomes easier to see how to prepare. So most pre-match programs are in a community setting with a very heavy workload. In terms of the profile that they accept of the students, either recent graduates with high scores, or if you're an older YOG, then a lot of USC, lot of experience, whether home country or home country residency. High scores are invariably important to them, even for older graduates. The important thing they want is they want residents who can hit the ground running, put in a lot of hard work, high number of hours, be comfortable with limited resources, working in a remote constraint, a resource constrained environment. That's what these programs invariably want. So as you prepare for the interviews and look for these programs, if you have the interviews, the most important thing is confidence. They want really those residents who have the confidence to hit the ground running. Like I mentioned, day one, July 1st, you should be able to get things done. A lot of clinical experience. And this is important because a lot of IMGs undersell their home country experience. If you have home country residency, COVID experience, or other kinds of experience in the home country, because the situations are very similar. You've worked in a remote resource constrained environment. Maybe you saw 80 to 100 patients a day, things like that. So they really value that experience. The other thing they look for is if you have low scores, then step 3, very, very important. If you have low scores, so step 3 becomes important for these programs. Remember, they are also worried about their board pass rate. So it's a prestige issue, and they want to make sure that you don't ruin their board pass rate. So step 3 important if you have low scores. Research is important for these programs, but not a deal breaker. You're going into these programs based on your clinical skills. So these are some of the things that they they kind of look for as you prepare for these programs.
Great. I think those are an excellent point. As Pawan mentioned, and also going back, pre-match is any process that does not go through NRMP. So even if somebody is getting a fellowship without doing a residency here, which is also a pre-match position, but now we are focusing on residency part. So having any kind of experience boosts your chances because you are having more confidence. It's all about confidence because these programs want residents who are really confident to hit the ground running. So any kind of experiences you can gather here in your home country, if you're an IMG, if you are an AMG, having more experiences here, all of them would help. And having said that, I also wanted to introduce Nikitna Vivek, who's our outreach committee chair, and she will be handling all the questions in the chat box just a little after we are finished with our preliminary introduction to pre-match. So question is, how is their IV? Is it different or the same? Now that everything has become virtual, is this more in person or?
So a couple of things. What we noticed in the last season, when COVID was still very prominent, some of these programs will give you the option whether you want to do virtual or in person. So Chicago programs, for example, New York programs, pre-match programs will give you the option even this year. So obviously, if they give you the option, take the option of on-site if you can do it. There's no two ways about it. On-site is always better. So that's the logistics part. Then in terms of the interview itself, how is that different? So the interview itself is pretty much similar to what you may see in other programs, with the exception of they will drill you more, or you will be expected to talk more about your clinical skills, experiences, USC. That's one. When it comes to confidence, in the interview or within 2 hours of the interview, they could call you and say, will you accept the pre-match? Then they don't expect this dilly-dally thing, right? I don't know, I have to do this, I have to think about it. Then the offer is off the table. I actually had a student last week, got a pre-match offer, but the program gave only a day. And after the day, they said the offer is off. If you need more time, you knew this was a pre-match. So that's the other thing you need to understand about pre-match. The third important thing about pre-match is they should, whether you have one interview or more than one, they should not get a sense on the extreme. They will not give you an offer if they think that this is the only interview you have. No one wants an applicant with one interview. So you have to really project that confidence. However, you cannot also project the confidence that you have 15 interviews. Then they will say you will not take this offer. So there's a subtle art to it, how to communicate to the programs that yes, you will take the offer, but no, you don't have 20 interviews, but this is not the only one. So there are some interview prep tricks that we kind of go over in our classes as well. These are some of the things that are different in pre-match programs.
Thank you, Pavan. I had a follow-up to that regarding Sarathi, how many students on an average get like pre-match? Is it like varies year by year? Has it become more with virtual?
So it depends. Most of our pre-match offers come in family medicine, internal medicine, and pediatrics. On an average, I would say about 15 to 20 in internal medicine, and then slightly less in IM and FM. And students and they discuss with her whether they should take pre-match and all. It all depends on what they have in hand in terms of the number of interviews. So or if they are repeat applicants, then their strategy can be different. If they are going into the match second or third time, then of course pre-match becomes more attractive. If they have high number of interviews and if we have assessed their interview prep skills, then we pretty much discuss with them. Pre-match may not be the right program for them, but again, a number of interviews, their profile, low scores and all that factors into whether they should accept or not. This year, we've already started seeing some pre-match offers. I think we saw at least 3 come in till Friday. So I think they're all starting.
That's very encouraging. Nikitna. Okay.
Hi, I'm from Vanderbilt University. I'm a second-year medical student. So I just wanted to ask, what are pre-match programs looking for?
So I think we just answered this question, Nikitna, before you joined. So I think we covered that question.
You can ask the next.
Okay. Next question is what questions to ask the program?
Amu, do you want to take this or do you want me to?
So this is the most important, I think, during interview process that we need to prepare for, because we feel like we prepare for all our interview questions, but we don't have any questions for them. So just as they are interviewing you, you're also interviewing them. So they showing interest in you is basically they asking you questions. So when you are showing interest in that program, that is by asking questions about that program. But then that's also a very tricky question, this thing, because you need to prepare well what to ask, because you don't want to ask about holidays and vacations and stuff like that. But you do want to show interest by asking very relevant questions that make you look like you are a good candidate and you are a hard worker and you really are excited to join that program. So preparing for that, I think, is very important. And you don't want to you don't want to ask too many questions. I think 3 is a good number, because after every interview, they'll ask what questions you have for me. And that is the way of they gauging your interest in the program. So I would strongly encourage, as soon as you get an interview from a program, research about that program, and then whatever comes in your mind regarding it, write it down, and then analyze from those questions which ones are good ones to ask, because you don't want to ask everything that comes to your mind. You need to write it down and see which ones will have a good impression. You can ask one of your friends or something, how does this question sound? But I think this is very important because they will gauge you on that. If you say you have no questions, that might show that you're not interested. So I've always seen that the best questions you ask, you can see you are always ending in a very good note, because that will leave them a good impression about you as well. Some of the good questions that I've been prepared is like, how is the didactics done? How is the mentorship in the program? What is the support you get after you graduate? Those are some common questions, but if you really do research about the program, you can find very special, unique aspects about that program, and you asking them shows that you are really interested. One of them for me personally was when, mine was not a pre-match, but when I interview, one of the question I usually look about the interviewers who interview me, I look at their work. And one person was really doing an exciting work, which resonated with me very well. So after the interview, I particularly asked that person about that particular work and showed I am interested in that. And he just lightened up. So I think those are some of the tricks that I've felt. And Pawan, I would love to hear your thoughts.
No, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. These are some of the most important questions. One thing, of course, is your questions to any program, including pre-match program, should reflect your interest in the program. It should not come across as some cookie cutter questions. The questions and the conversation should convince the program, like Amu said, that you have researched the program and that you are looking forward to spending those 3 years with the program. So if you research the program well enough, they will assess it accordingly.
Great.
A follow-up, what are some post-interview communications?
Okay, so post-interview communication to pre-match programs, which could be slightly different to the other programs. But for pre-match programs, first, of course, like with any other program, you should send them, thank you emails. And of course, they worked hard to organize those interviews. So whether it's a program coordinator, program director, etc. But remember, the pre-match timeline could be very, very accelerated. You could get an interview or an offer within 2 hours, like I said, within a day, within a week, within 2 months, you never know. So if you don't get it within a day or two, then the game starts. And if you really want that program, then you have to really chase them, communicate with them to even by email or by calling them. Maybe have your mentor call them to showcase your interest in the program, because they need to close it, right? And they don't want to waste a spot, just as you don't want it. And you never know whether the offer will come in 2 days or 2 months. So the smart way in this would be, of course, email, then maybe have your mentors call them, maybe network with their residents if you can. Any channel that you can use to showcase your interest is always welcome. And the game is quite open till first or before the rank order list deadline. You'll be surprised. Some programs are interviewing now, the pre-match programs, but will make you an offer on 1st of March. So, just be ready for those things.
And how about accepting offers?
So accepting a pre-match offer, like I said, depends on various factors. The most important factor is how many interviews you have. Number two, are you a repeat applicant or not? Number three, what are your scores? What is your profile? You know, how competitive of an applicant you are. Number four or five, the geographical location. So if you are in that city, say New York, Chicago, and you're getting a pre-match from those cities, that could swing in your favor. Next, you know, you may have already researched the program, so you will know the didactics, the quality, long-term goals. You know, some programs, pre-match programs, have fellowships in-house. Are you interested in them? Not interested in them? So some of these factors will determine whether you should accept the offer or not. Once you accept, then it's all done and dusted. They may or may not give you the contract the same day or the same week, but it's a verbal contract. You have accepted it verbally. They will want you to remove yourself from the NRMP match or not register, and you're done for the season. You can go back, relax, and they'll get you the start date and do all the paperwork. So once you accept the offer, remember you cannot get into the NRMP match.
Excellent. So one thing I want to add is for a lot of IMGs, I know some AMGs prefer to just go through the match, and having a good number of IV would be one of the reasons. But if you need time to do your visa, if you need time to get your licenses in certain states, having an offer accepted earlier just makes that process way more smoother. So there are a lot of advantages apart from the anxiety of the match in these pre-match offers. But it's entirely given, a fine balance between where do you want to go, how many interviews you have, and what is your next step. Having said that, I think we did give a good introduction about pre-match, and now we are accepting all questions from the audience. I do see a hand raised, but I would recommend to just type it in the chat box and we will ask them. So we will go one by one. I'll take one question and then Nikita can ask the next one. So the first question I have is when to accept a pre-match versus waiting for the match. Any safe number of IVs? That I think this is a good continuation of the topic.
So, it varies. It's not a straightforward answer. We've had students who are going into the match or go into the match with their second or third season. They may have 8 or 9 interviews, but then if they've not matched in 2 seasons, they are more inclined to take a pre-match even with 8, 9 interviews in hand. But if this is your first match season and financially you are secure and you do have a backup plan, whether it's working in your home country, etc., then I think with 5 to 6 interviews you have enough leverage to match. So below 5, I think taking a pre-match is a wise decision.
As a follow-up to that, after accepting and withdrawing from NMRP, is there a confirmation email or something, some form of confirmation?
Yes. So the programs, once you accept the pre-match offer, the programs typically either verbally or in writing by email will say, here's the offer. They will give you, every program, whether it's pre-match or not, gives you a 1-year contract. So they will send that to you. The actual contract may maybe after a month, but you don't have to worry about it as long as you get a verbal offer. What they will want is your withdrawal confirmation from NRMP. So yes, you can withdraw from NRMP, send them that confirmation screenshot, etc., and then you're all done.
Yeah, and just to be safe, only do it after you sign the contract. Verbal contract is good, but they will send you the offer letter within a couple of days. Sign it so you have written proof before you withdraw. But that's always good to make sure.
Yes.
Next question I have is, within how many days do we have to accept the offer in pre-match? Let's say we got an offer, can we sit on it until January? I think this is partly answered, but you can just.
Yes. So interesting question. How many days do we have to accept the offer? It all depends on the program. It depends on your profile. If the program really wants you, let's say you're a 260 plus and all that, they likely will give you more time and say, okay, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. No program is going to give you 2 months. It'll be either a few days or maybe a couple of weeks. You cannot interview now and hope that you can go back to the program in January and say, I'm here. That's not how the pre-match model works. So like I mentioned, we had a student last week who was given just 1 day. And in 1 day, then they said the offer is revoked. So I think you can try to negotiate a couple of days, but after that, they will just not, the offer will not stand.
I just have a quick point. I think some of them has joined from the link I shared. I would recommend you to change your name in it because I think it shows at my name. I think I see like Phi Amu in this. So if anybody has joined and your name is not showing up, please change your name.
I see.
Okay, so Niket, now you can go next.
Yeah, so when does the pre-match program send offer after interview invites, after interviews, and how early is that?
So like I mentioned, it's work backwards from the timeline. They all need to close their spots by, say, 3rd of March. They can send you an offer within 2 hours of interviewing you. They can send you an offer within a day, within a week, within a month. There is no standard rule. It depends on the program. It depends on your profile.
Okay. And I think we answered this. When does the pre-match program send offer after interviews? We didn't mention
I just
that.
answered, it varies.
And can we mention about the desire for a pre-match offer in the interview and how to mention that? I think that's a great question.
Yes. So, the simple strategy is your answers, your discussions with the program should reflect your interest in that program, in that geographical location. You don't really, you can say it a couple of times, I'm very excited to be part of your program, etc. But in the end, it's a combination of what all you do in that interview, just as for any other program, they have to see it in the discussion, whether it is the the patient demographics that they cater to, whether it is the city, whether it is the didactics of the program, whether you have your alumni in the program and how you talk about those alumni, how they have helped you. It's a combination of everything. They really need to see that throughout the interview.
We have a question asking if the pre-match program is new, how can we be sure that it'll not lose accreditation before residency gets completed?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. A new program, you're taking your chances whether it's a pre-match or not. A lot of programs, even established programs, have citations. Losing accreditation is very tough. So, that's where you got to play your cards well. If you have no option in such case, you are looking at, let's say, less than 5 interviews, I think you can still go for it, but it's hard. It's not easy to go into these situations where there are accreditation issues.
Great. We also have another panelist who just joined. I think he's a cardiology fellow at Yale, and he'll be also joining us for asking questions. Meanwhile, let me just take the next question. Is the ECFMG certification needed for pre-match?
So ECFMG certification is technically not needed to apply, but if you complete all the paperwork and you can say that it is pending, the program should be okay. Of course, you do need the certified applicant to start in the residency program. So, for example, if you have not taken OET, the program is not going to make you an offer. So then they'll say, okay, take the OET, show us the results, we'll come back to you in December. So that's where it'll differ. If you have ECFMG certification, you are good to go.
And I think also taking step 3 is helpful in getting you licenses and everything easier for the process. So if you have it, it's a plus. If you don't have it, at least step 2 and ECFMG certification. I mean, right now it's changed. It's always helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hi,
We have
Jay.
a question asking if a research job in a US university helps.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question. What was it?
If a researcher job in a US university helps.
So now we are getting into, what helps you in Match. So as a researcher, obviously, if you can publish, if you can demonstrate your research skill, it'll help. Why not? But it is not a substitute for any kind of clinical experiences, especially when it comes to Prematch.
And I think we have the next panelist, Jay, joined us. Hi, Jay.
Hey, thanks, Amu. So sorry, guys, I'm late. I had a case, so I don't know how much you have covered. And hi, Pawan. So good to see you again. So
Hi, Jay. Yeah. So those of you, most of you will not remember, but Jay was our first student at USMLE Sarthi about 7 years ago. So we go back a long way. He's come a long way. And we've always been very proud of him, of what he has achieved. So Jay, maybe you should introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Pawan. Yeah, it's been a long journey. So, but thanks for all your help. When I started, I mean, it was so puzzling, and we don't know what to do. But trust me, actually, it's easier once you get in. The first step is the hardest one. So, but we are here for you. So. And USMLE Sarthi, I mean, they do a great job. And I wish I knew more things like, these organizations and like API, MSRF, and there's multiple organizations and groups you can connect, and you'll get a lot of information. So I did my residency in Chicago at Cook County Health, and I did my master's at Rush during my residency in clinical research. And I did my cardiology fellowship at New York Medical College, and I'm doing my interventional instructional fellowship at Yale now. Training after training, and I stopped counting the years, but it's been a fun and exciting journey. So regardless of when you join or where you're joining, I think you made the right decision, to do your career in the States. So welcome and good luck. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So.
Thanks, Jay. So we are taking questions from the audience. So do you want to take the next one?
Sure. I don't see the chat box very well. But
okay, let me ask you on that. If you're not sure about accepting the pre-match offer, should we postpone the interview?
Yeah, so it depends. You really have to know, whether you're comfortable with the pre-match program where you're getting the offer from. So, don't judge the program based on the offer, but see what you like and how you fit into the program. So it really depends on the priority. So, continue with the interview, and you can be honest with the program. They are also looking for the candidate, and they know that you're looking for the program and you probably have other offers. So it's a fair game. So, always have a good communication and see where you stand and how much you like the program. And then, and they respect when you're open about your options and communication.
And how should we identify and find pre-match programs?
So I think I already answered that, and we can post that link again. So Swati, if you can post the link to all the pre-match programs. So we have a blog on our website, which will give you a list of all programs, all pre-match programs.
And I think the most popular question is how many interviews you need to confidently reject a pre-match. So,
sorry, Jay, you were saying something?
No, I was going to say Pawan probably has more experience with this, but I was told it's a comfortable number. But I'll see what Pawan has to say.
I'm sorry, which is the comfortable number? I didn't hear.
10 when I
10.
was applying, but yeah.
Yeah, so, like I said, it depends. 10 is a very safe number, even if you look at the NRMP match data and the probability of match. So 10 is a safe number. However, if you've done enough of interview preparation, if you have a good profile, let's say if Jay in today's day and age were to get a pre-match with a 250 plus, 260 plus, even with 5 interviews, you could reject a pre-match, but it's all personalized. If it's your second or third match cycle, even with 10 interviews, people will be inclined to take a pre-match because they don't want to go through that again and again. But in general, for our students, we say about 5 to 6. Otherwise, 10 is a very safe number.
And to add to that, I would say, also the feel that you get when you interview, you get a sense, it's not just about how good the program is or how good the candidate is, it's also the right fit. So you will feel connected to certain programs and they feel the same. So they tend to rank those candidates better because they know whether that candidate will fit into that particular experience that the program has to offer. So you'll get a feel of it. So, but also I would say I would caution, don't get fooled by offer letters or, mail. Some programs do that, but I know some friends, they believed in that and they didn't really invest in some other programs they got the interviews from. So they ended up not going to that program and then they lost some of the other programs they could have actually landed if they actually worked it. So, at least invest in the top 3 or 4 programs really seriously. Don't just rely on just one email or one program reaching out to you.
There's a question asking if you can withdraw after accepting the offer and what the implications are of doing so.
Oh, withdrawing. So you mean once you accept the offer, withdrawal for NRMP or withdrawal from the program?
It doesn't specify.
Okay, so
I think it will be the program because.
Okay, yes. So after you get the offer, you accept the offer, you sign off on the contract. It is construed a legal agreement. This is a legal agreement, right? It becomes very, very complicated. The program can go after you, right? So our suggestion is, don't accept it if there is an issue like that, because you're signing off on a legal document in the US and the implications can be very, very severe if the program decides to go after you.
So yeah, I agree with Pavan totally. So one of my friends had a similar experience for our interventional cardiology match. It's actually a pre-match kind of situation. Like we applied through IRS, but it's not an NRMP match. So we get this issue a lot because some people get offered early and they accept it. They get a better offer later on, they change. So I totally agree if you sign the contract because it's a very legal document and they can actually come after you. But sometimes they just offer an offer letter. I heard that signing an offer letter, you can decline later because it's just preliminary. So I would say, again, communication is the key. So have a communication with the program and your program and, wherever you are and whoever your mentors are, and also even a legal, opinion just to make sure what you signed is it a legal document or is it going to be a troublesome? Most of the programs, they sometimes understand if it is your location preference or, personal issues, they are pretty understanding. So if that is the case, you can safely, withdraw. But I don't think it's worth fighting, in that situation. So be thoughtful when you sign the contract. Yeah.
Great. Now, some of the questions are something we already talked about, so I'll just quickly answer and we'll go to the next one in the interest. I think we have more questions coming and we will wind up in around like 8 to 10 minutes. So this question is interesting. Can we ask Prematch program in the end, when can I expect to hear back from them if they like to offer me a spot?
Oh, absolutely. This is a great question. It shows that, yes, you are interested and you're waiting for the offer. Yes, you can definitely ask them about their timeline, tell them you're interested, and tell them you're waiting for the offer.
Great.
Is pre-match only for categorical or prelim as well? And does visa status affect the offer?
So most of the pre-match could be for prelim or transitional years also. I have not seen the most recent list. It's definitely there for categoricals as well. Most of it is categorical.
Okay, there are questions about how to withdraw from NRMP. I think Pavan had mentioned they have a blog and there is a step-by-step process. And yes, you would get confirmation once you withdraw from it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
Yeah, and there was a question about SOAP. We'll have a separate webinar for SOAP.
Yes.
That will be like after the match. So next question, I think, is from Farheen. It's a very, so Pavan, I interviewed at a program, and from information I had thought they were pre-match during the interview. I did ask the program director about pre-match, but at the time he said, I don't see any other way than going through match. And he also said we cannot fill half our spots from pre-match and rest from match. Can you explain the reasons why they may have decided not to pre-match?
So the first thing is the programs have either or option. So they cannot fill half spots in pre-match, other in the match. So the entire set of spots, 10, 15, either have to go into the match or pre-match. Now, many programs decide, it's a experience, right? So some programs, they start off with pre-match for a couple of years, and maybe they don't get enough applicants, then they move into the match, or vice versa. They may go into the match, but they're not able to fill their spots. Remember, it's not just the desperation that they need to fill all the spots from both the applicants and the program. It's a fit, as Jay said, right? So the program is also looking for applicants who fit, and vice versa. But sometimes it happens, the program is not able to find the right fit, the spots go unfilled, and then SOAP is a mess. It's always a mess, in those 2 days, you have to evaluate the applicants, give them an offer. So I think most programs take a few years to decide whether they are a pre-match program or going into match. A lot of programs in New York, for example, Bronx, Lebanon, Interfaith, some of the others have historically been pre-match. Weiss Memorial in Chicago, last 10 years have been pre-match. Some programs have never been pre-match, so it takes time.
Great. Sushma has the question. So this is regarding the NRMP match, regarding letter of intent and how to phrase it. I think this would be outside the topic currently, but we are happy to answer that in the sense of how to do it in a separate seminar. I think we don't want to, I think there are a lot of questions about pre-match we'll answer, but yes, letter of intent is always good to show your interest. So a question for Jinan. Let me just take that, Nikib, now. I want to understand the process. Do I apply for match and also individually apply to each pre-match program to increase my chances, and then I decide?
So this is for me?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is, should I apply for match? So you are applying to all programs in one shot through the ERAS system. And within those programs is the set of pre-match programs. So the difference is not really the application. The difference is the interview timeline and offer acceptance. So the programs are still, most of them, in ERAS. So you would have already applied to them.
Shristi asked, so should we sign up for NMRP and then withdraw if we want to accept pre-match?
Yes, you will need to withdraw from NRMP or not sign up for NRMP. The NRMP deadline is quite a bit, and I think goes up to January. So if you have signed up, you will have to withdraw from NRMP. Yes.
And next question, I think Jay can answer first. Is the pre-match only for categorical or prelim? And does the visa status affects for it or not? And does accepting a match decreases my chance of securing a fellowship? A pre-match.
I think I can answer the second two questions. So I'm not very familiar with the preliminary program, so maybe one of the other panelists can pitch into that. But I would believe like it applies for both group of programs, but I have seen it's only the categorical programs, but so probably exist. In terms of the fellowship options, see whether the pre-match program has in-house fellowship. So your best chance for any kind of fellowship is your in-house fellowship spots. They always love to take their own people if they know the system and if they are actually good for the specialty. So look at that option, and also geographical location. I think wherever you decide to go for the fellowship, if you're programming in that area, they're probably going to have more connections. So, I came from Chicago to New York, and then after that, basically Northeast pretty much. So, there is very remote chance that I will go to California. So that makes a difference. In terms of the visa, I don't think it really matters. As far as the program offers some kind of visa, I think they will be able to do it for both pre-match and the matching.
And Pavan, do you have?
No,
anything?
so Jay is right. I mean, visa pre-match programs are all open. Some of them will tell you they don't do H1B, so it's straightforward. And some will accept both H1B, they will do, or J1. So, visa-wise, they will be very clear upfront. Of course, if you need H1B, you have to have step 3 on time and all that.
Yeah, it can be hard when you apply. I did H1 when I started, but it was actually challenging to also finish the step 3 before. I think you have to finish it before December to get the results and then apply. And the visa process itself takes longer. So, but it's actually good if you're on H1, but very few programs will offer that. Maybe we can even have a webinar on the visa, what you need to consider and before you rank. I think
yeah. So we do have an attorney on our team, and we do do a webinar on this visa issues, before you rank. Yes, absolutely, great point.
It's something very overlooked, but it can make a real difference long term. So you really need to consider the priorities when you chose the program based on the visa. So yeah, as Pawan said, I think that'll be a very good webinar to watch out for.
I think we are coming towards the end. Are there any other questions?
So we do have a number of questions. So as you see, Pavan and Sarathi's team is expert in managing and guiding you through the pre-match process. So I encourage you to look into the resources. And as API, we are happy to provide platform and networking opportunities and mentorship and research opportunities in our platform. We can take more questions, but the ones we already answered, I'm going to skip. And then the rest of them, I encourage you to reach out to us and Sarathi, and we'll be happy to guide you in the interest of time.
So what I can do is, I know the 3 of you need to leave. I can take the questions, no problem. We'll record it anyway. So if you need to leave, that's fine. Let me read through the questions and see if we can answer. And thank you, Jay and Ammu and Niketna. If you need to leave, that's fine. I can read the questions and I can take it if we've missed any.
No, that's fine. We do have, I think, a lot of questions coming in.
Okay.
I'm happy to stay a little longer, but just like letting them know regarding the time. Niketna, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. Can we ask programs or dream programs to know what our status is after we get a pre-match offer?
Yes, an excellent question. You can let them know, but it will not change anything. You will never know how they rank you till you get the final match result. And by that time, you would have to decide about the pre-match anyway. So yes, you can let them know. It shouldn't make any difference. It will confuse you more because you will not know the result. So you either take the pre-match offer before the rank order list deadline, or you let it go.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I agree with Pawan. Like, yeah, again, as I said before, like, never get fooled by any kind of email assurance, because until you match, until you get that email, nothing is guaranteed. So, just make sure you're doing the right thing.
Okay. Do pre-match programs fill after NRMP? IVs go till Feb in program when rank order list starts. How do we go about in a situation when you get a pre-match in like February?
Okay, so first question, do pre-match of programs fill up spots after so anything that happens after the SOAP week is out of match, and spots can open up in June, July, August. This out of match positions can always open up. So whether it's a pre-match program or NRMP match program, these things can happen. Some students may not get a visa, etc. So that's, but technically, before the rank order list deadline, all pre-match programs have to shut shop. They have to close their spots. Was there a second part to this question?
What happens if you get an offer in February? Once
If you get an offer in Feb, you either accept before, or let it go. I mean, you have to close everything from an applicant standpoint and the program standpoint before the rank order list deadline. They will ask for you to withdraw from NRMP. If you get an offer in Feb and you want to take it, just take it.
So I think the question is, what if it's after the rank order list submission?
It will not be after the rank order list submission. No, it is not allowed.
Okay.
We have a question asking if we're not sure about accepting the offer, should we postpone the invite?
Good question. Yes, if you are not sure, you can postpone the invite. But again, understand that pre-match programs are filling up on a rolling basis. What I mean is, let's say they have 10 spots. By December or January, they would have filled up 8 spots already. So the more you delay, your chances of getting that offer reduce because the spots are getting filled up. So it's a fine balance.
And if a pre-match offers both H1 and J1 and we are done with step 3, do we need to ask them to issue a H1 or they will automatically give us J1?
They will not automatically give you any visa, especially H1, because even the pre-match programs have some spots for H1, and it is their internal calculation. Let's say out of 10 spots, they will say we can offer only 3 or 4 H1Bs and then J. So that's how it works. You will have to work with them to see what visa you are interested in, what they can offer, and when you get that offer.
We have a question asking if we can email pre-match programs after a week or 2 if you didn't hear back from them.
Absolutely. You can keep emailing them till they reject you. Why not?
And we have SM Zahur who mentioned that JFK Raritan Bay, New Jersey is a pre-match program, which is also, I think the programs keep opening up and the new programs keep coming too. So the list keeps increasing. It's good to it's good to have that list.
Yeah,
thank you for
click
telling
on that
us
list. It used to be a pre-match, but things have changed. So that list should be the most current for this season.
Okay.
Can we rely on a verbal offer for withdrawing from NMRP match, or should they ask the program to send a written agreement before withdrawing from the match?
In the past 7 to 8 years, we have not seen programs falsifying anything. I mean, they don't, if they are okay giving you an offer, they will not play with you. So yes, you can accept a verbal offer. I've never seen an issue that the programs walk back on the offer. Agreements take time. Legal agreements take time. It can be a month, it can be 3 weeks, who knows? But I have not seen a pre-match program saying, oh, no, now we are not giving you an offer. If they gave you an offer verbally, you accepted it, I think you can trust them.
Does the pre-match program will tell you during IV invite or during the IV that it's a pre-match program?
They could do both or not. So the onus is on you to do this due diligence.
We have a question asking for your contact information, Poen, if you wanted to drop that in the chat.
Yeah, so Swati will drop our contact information. Swati, if you can drop it in the chat.
And then the question we have is, can we ask other program or your dream program to know our status after we get a pre-match offer?
I think we just answered it. The answer is it won't make any difference. You can let them know. The program which is going into the NRMP match will say, great, they can say, we'll rank you highly, etc., whatever the marketing spiel is. But the result will be out only after the match, right? So I don't think it makes any difference.
Can we tell other programs that we have received a pre-match offer? Will they rank us higher or lower because of that?
I don't think it makes any difference to them.
And I heard the first wave of invites is over. If I get 2 to 3 invites now, is there any chance of getting more invites later in second wave? And are the first wave invites considered as more than the second wave in selecting match criteria?
So when you interview doesn't really make any difference to the rank order list of the programs, whether you interview now or get the interview now or in January. I think the important question is, how many interviews can you accept between now and say Jan or Feb? And this has changed drastically during COVID or for the virtual interviews. When pre-COVID, students had to travel for interview, there were all these logistical issues, financial issues, money to be spent and time to be spent traveling. So people would cancel interviews. Generally you won't see more than 15 interviews they would take because it has all these implications. But now, because you're all sitting in your room and interviewing, so people are not canceling. So the implication is people are not canceling, they are holding interviews, nothing good or bad about it, but the chances of getting more and more interviews in January and December are kind of going down. You will still see interviews come in November, December, Jan, but not really the number that you would see pre-COVID.
We have a question asking how we can know off-cycle spots.
That's a hard one. I don't know if there is a website that captures all that. I really don't know. Sorry.
So based on my experience, the Frida has a list of open spots whenever the programs can actually advertise in Frida.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And there are a couple of websites like Match Your Resident and unmatch.com, which also put in advertisement. The programs put in advertisement in these websites. So if you do a good search, these websites have been pretty helpful for a lot of students. Even when they get new accreditations, they will put in a notice over there. And the next question, can we rely on the verbal offer for withdrawing from NRMP match? Shall we ask the program to send the written agreement before withdrawing from the match? So I just want to comment on it. I always recommend to get the written agreement because when they do verbal, it's more they interviewing you, but they have to talk with the GME. And when they give you a written letter, it's all consulted with everyone and it's more on paper. It's always safer for you to do that. And I would love to hear your thoughts, Pawan.
Yes, so what you're saying is on paper correct, but sometimes it's just the program director calling you saying, we'd like to offer you the spot. You got a couple of days, give us a yes or a no. You give them a yes, and then they get into the. So the challenge comes the legal paperwork. How soon can they complete? At least an offer letter, I think, helps. They can quickly produce it in 2-3 days. But the entire contract may have to wait. So based on the offer letter by email or something, I think you can withdraw.
Does the pre-match program send rejection emails?
They may or may not. That's a hard one.
And just to give an example, I had a friend of mine who actually got a verbal offer from the program director that we're going to take you, but they were an all-in program, so they had to go through NRMP NRMP. So she still had to wait till the match to get that offer, although she was like technically. So she still had to interview at other programs, rank it, thankfully matched into that.
Yeah, so that's the, like I think Jay also mentioned, you never know what the program is telling you if they are going into match. They may say, we'll rank you highly, you are already assured, but in the end, you still have to go into match and who knows what happens.
Do you know, based on your experience of during the month of November, there's going to be a wave of new interviews for candidates, and how probable is this?
So interviews will come in November and part of December. Especially university programs are typically slower in sending out the interview invites. They are looking at the AMGs, MSPEs, which a lot of community programs don't look for in IMGs. So some of those programs are a bit slower. Some specialties are a bit slower in sending out invites. But most of the community programs in internal medicine would have sent out invites by the next 1 week to 10 days.
As a pre-match program, invite via ERA's invite system or separately through emails?
Could be anything. It could be a separate email, it could be through ERAs. A couple of our students have gotten over phone. So it could be anything.
Can you pre-match into categorical neurology, or is it limited to IM?
No, I think neurology also has a pre-match programs. I think we have a list.
Is going into pre-match decreases the chances of fellowship or research, especially if the program does not have in-house fellowship or data about alumni?
I think Jay answered it. Many pre-match programs also have in-house fellowship, so that's your best bet. In the end, I think what it takes to get into fellowship, I think Jay, maybe you want to answer whether it's a pre-match program or otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, once you match in, I mean, it's a fair chance. It really, nobody cares about what you have done before that. So what you put in those 3 years of residency really makes a difference. Of course, it's helpful if you are in a program with an in-house option or like a lot of research options. But nowadays, you can connect with virtually anyone. You can email and connect. I mean, we are all open. Like, my mentors are like in different hospitals. I've never been there, so I think it's all up to you, interest and how much effort you put in. So I would say I have seen like people from all kind of programs into really good programs for fellowship. It's just a matter of how much you put in during your residency. So don't worry about it if it is an option without an in-house option, but it's always the preferred way, especially if you're on visa. They can just continue your visa, just renew your contract with the fellowship. And if you're good there, you don't really have to impress anyone else. It's just your home program and your home program director. So
yeah. I think we are now into more than 75 minutes. So maybe it's time to wrap up.
We are up to date with most of the questions. I think we just 3 more questions. I think just as is like a roundabout, how can I apply to programs not participating in ERAS? I think that's pretty much
the most tricky part, most painful part. You just have to follow the directions on the program website, because if they're not through ERAS, this is the old-fashioned way. Who knows whether they are accepting application through email or physical mail? Then how do you send them the letters of recommendations that are waived? This all has to be worked out through the programs.
Adding to that, I would like to extend that, just reach out to the program as a simple email first. And if they are saying yes, go to we need these things to even consider you for interviews, then provide those materials. Sometimes just emailing and reaching out to program when they're doing pre-match will help. Yeah. And I think we have 2 more. So our programs only match or only pre-match, not in combination? So it's all in.
Cannot have a combination. It's only match or only pre-match.
And I would take this last question, and I think we can wrap it up. How would you explicitly state in the interview invite email? But would they explicitly state in the interview invite email or during interview that they're a pre-match program? I think we partly answered it, but do you have anything to add to it, Pawan?
No, many programs are very obvious. Like I said, go through the list, check in Frida. If they don't have NRMP ID, they're most likely pre-match. It's always beneficial from your perspective to ask in the interview if there is still ambiguity, because that's the model of the pre-match. You want to get done. So ask them if there is ambiguity, even if they don't answer.
Great. All right, thank you very much. I think we did answer all questions. I think there are some more questions coming up. I would recommend us, I think we can take one more and then we are wrapping it up, and then we can you can always reach out to Sarthi, and also we are also available from API. As you see, ours is a student run or a medical resident fellow and student run organization, very committed to helping the community. So is it better to schedule a pre-match interview early or late in the season? That would be the last question.
It depends on your number of interviews. If you have, like I said, less than 4 interviews, do it as soon as possible, because if you get the pre-match, you want to accept it. And also earlier in the season, they will have more spots. Later in the season, they will have less spots because they are making offers. So if you have more interviews, 10 plus, you still want to go for the pre-match interview, you can probably delay. If you have less interviews, do it sooner.
Wonderful. So thank you very much. Even I learned a lot more about pre-match from this session, having gone through the process. So I think we were able to answer most questions. And as I can see, like if you have more questions, always reach out to us. I would strongly encourage you to follow both Sarthi and API. We have a lot of exciting events coming up. If you want to have research showcase during this residency application cycle, we have our research symposium.